Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Monologue reaction series. Today we're going to look at a famous monologue from the movie Misery, starring Katie Bates, and she does a great job in this film. It's one of my favorite performances of hers, although she starred in many great movies. I don't know if you're familiar with the plot of the film. You can go and watch it. It's really worth it. Many older movies are worth it. We just don't pay much attention to that because we're just focused on the latest news, but cinema is full of great films from all eras, so I encourage you to go watch it. What you need to know about the plot is basically there is this writer that is injured after an accident, and she basically is a fan of his work, of this book series that he wrote about this misery girl. And by kidnapping him, she forces him to write the next book of the misery saga that he actually wanted to drop. He didn't want to write any further. And so there is this conflict and this power play where she has all the control while he's on a wheelchair and injured, and she is a fan of his work at the same time. And she shows this very obsessive personality, and it's really interesting to watch for actors and viewers alike.
Sorry, Paul, this is all wrong.
What?
You'll have to do it over again. It's not worthy of you. Throw it all out, except for that part of naming the gravedigger after me. You can leave that in.
I really value your criticism.
So from the very beginning, she storms into the room, and we can already appreciate some traits of her personality. She's a very commanding, dominating personality. She is very direct, and she's basically telling him what to do. This is not an open discussion, although she said, "I'm sorry" at the beginning. This is basically already outlining the relationship between them. One person has complete control, she does, and he's wounded and basically has to do what she says. This is the power play in place in the whole film. This film is an adaptation of a Stephen King's novel, in case you didn't know, so that maybe gives you a little bit more context. And she is a person that is easily upset, as we will see. She has this very intense way of staring, and she can easily be perceived as threatening. And as I probably said already, she's very easily upset by other people and by her own words and her own, mental images, as we will see in the follow-up of the clip.
But maybe we're being a little hasty here.
Paul, what you've written just isn't fair.
Not fair.
That's right.
So the concept of fairness, this is one of the main points of this monologue, and what she means by that is she's a fan of this fiction writer, so she thinks that authors and series should never lie to their viewers and to their readers, as she perceives he's doing with in his writing of the new Misery books. So now she starts talking about a memory from her childhood, and we will see that the concept of fairness, the concept of being tricked, is very upsetting for her. By the way, this still we are on at the moment really shows her personality. Not a very expressive way of looking, easily prone to raise her voice, very aggressive.
When I was growing up in Bakersfield, my favorite thing in all the world was to go to the movies on Saturday afternoons for the chapter plays.
Cliffhangers.
I know that, Mr. Man. They also call them serials. I'm not stupid, you know.
So here we start really appreciating the irrationality of this character. She wants to tell you a story, she wants you to listen, but in her own terms. She doesn't want you to express any point of view. You're just a passive listener. Anything you say triggers her more. In portraying this character, she's particularly good at raising her voice and like going into this angry type of voice, and this is a main feature of this character. We already had a glimpse of that in the previous clip, and there's more to come. Let's watch it.
Anyway, my favorite was Rocket Man, and once it was a no-brakes chapter. The bad guy stuck him in a car on a mountain road and knocked him out and welded the door shut and tore out the brakes and started him to his death. And he woke up and tried to steer and tried to get out, but the car went off a cliff before he could escape. And it crashed and burned, and I was so upset and excited. And the next week, you better believe I was first in line.
So this story that she tells is about this movie she watched as a child, and it's so it's told with such an enthusiasm. And this is great work from the actress. She really has vivid recollection of the story, and she portrays very effectively the fact that she was there. It feels like it's yesterday. The impression it left on her to see this superhero falling off this cliff. And then there is the upsetting point and the irrationality of the whole thing. And now she's going to tell that the next week something different happened, and that it wasn't fair. And that's why she's upset.
And they always start with the end of the last week. And there was Rocket Man trying to get out. And here comes the cliff. And just before the car went off the cliff, he jumped free. And all the kids cheered. But I didn't cheer. I stood right up and started shouting, "This isn't what happened last week. Have you all got amnesia? They just cheated us. This isn't fair. He didn't get out of the cock-a-doodie car."
Such a great script and such a great performance. Kathy Bates really does a great job telling this story and creating this twist at the end. Everyone cheered, but I didn't cheer. And you know, it really turns into this resentful tone and then explodes in this outburst of rage that is, as grown-ups, we would say of this reaction that is a childish reaction. It's an exaggerated reaction to something very small. But the effect that this had on her as a child is still very present. And definitely this character is psychotic, but she really does a good job in portraying a realistic version of a character, you know, a character that could be around us, could be among us in the world every day.
They always cheated like that in chapter plays.
But not you. Not with my misery. Remember, Ian did ride for Dr. Cleary at the end of the last book, but his horse fell jumping that fence, and Ian broke his shoulder and his ribs and lay all night in the ditch, and he never reached the doctor. So there couldn't have been any experimental blood transfusion that saved her life.
So the whole point of the whole previous monologue was for her to tell him that she's been betrayed already by authors and by TV series, and she doesn't want that to happen again. So he has to be honest. He kind of killed the character in the previous book because he was fed up of writing. So that will have to be a honest, a fair story. And he's very scared because he understands that the more things she says, the more irrational she sounds.
He was buried in the ground at the end, Paul, so you'll have to start there.
She has a very quick way of speaking, and she just orders him to keep writing and to restart writing according to what she wants to read, and she just storms out of the room. She portrays a very quick-paced character, a character that is really unable to listen, that is not empathic at all. She only listens in order to get more triggered and more enraged and confirm her view of the world, her theories. So all in all, this is a great scene from a wonderful movie. And by all means, this is not the only memorable moment of this film, so I really encourage you to go and watch it. You can watch the clip without interruption at the link I'm posting below, the original link that was already on YouTube. Once again, this is a great performance by Kathy Bates, and it's a strong performance because the actress has made a lot of very strong choices. Everything in her physicality, her voice, her way of looking, her interactions, her way of thinking, her way of recollecting her memories, everything is really creating an all-round threatening character. This is basically a thriller movie, and in a thriller movie you really need an antagonist that is strong, threatening, motivated to get what he or she wants. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.